Hello, today I will be discussing the 6 units of the math course. And firstly, we're gonna start off with Unit 1, the Home Finance unit. Well, the Home Finance unit is very tall but very easy if you want to buy a house. And there are a lot of key principles you have to follow that will guide you to buying this house. Firstly, the mortgage. So you have to have a loan. It's basically a loan secured by the house. Now you have the down payment, which is the portion of purchase price you pay yourself towards the price of your home. Then you have the principal, which is the money borrowed. Then you have the interest, the amount you will pay for borrowing money in the future. Then you have the mortgage payments, which are just basically regular installments to repay loans and pay interest. Then you have the amortization period, the number of years taken to repay in the entire mortgage, which is a maximum of 5 years. A minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 25 years. So term, which is basically the length of time for a specific mortgage agreement before renegotiating. Equity, which is the value of the property you own. Additional one-time costs, which are just additional costs that are aside from the down payment. Property tax and utility adjustments, which are basically payable costs that are paid through a lawyer. Then the sale is closed. Then you have the property insurance adjustments, which are basically insurance that covers against fires and things that will happen, like liabilities and stuff like that. Then you have the appraisal fees, which are basically an institution and ensuring the property both meets its criteria for a mortgage. Then there's the deposit, which is the money you pay before you get the house. Then you have the home inspection fees that inspect bringers, attention and requirement. Then you have the home inspection fees, which are just fees paid for maintenance and stuff needed for the house. Then you have the legal fees, which is getting a lawyer to help you mortgage the house. Then you have mortgage application fee, which is a fee for the application of the mortgage. Then you have insurance costs, which are costs to have insurance. Then you have the service hookup fees, which are fees charged for house utilities. Then you have mortgage interest. It's basically interest payments charged in case of gaps between the first payment date of the mortgage and the closing date. Moving costs are basically fees paid when moving into a new house, which is paying the company that ships everything to the other house. So the new home costs, which are basically kitchen appliances, gardening equipment, cleaning tools, things like that. Additional costs, you're gonna have extra payments depending on the type of mortgage you decided upon. Prevention maintenance, which are just small repairs, upkeeping done to keep maintenance problems from becoming larger or more expected. Emergency repairs, extra payments paid in case of immediate needs for repairs. House energy efficiency, purchasing a new and more energy efficient appliances rather than normal and older ones. So renewing your anything that uses energy. And then we have the tenant or contents insurance, which is basically the land insurance. Then you have the homeowner insurance, which covers the content building liability related to your property. Then you have the deductible, which is the amount you must pay when returning, claiming before insurance company pays anything. The premium, which is the amount you pay to have insurance. It's basically annually. Mill rate, which is the tax rate used to calculate property taxes. And the down payment, we have already said that. The principal. Well, how do you calculate the principal? It's basically selling price minus down payment. Then you have the interest. How do you calculate the interest? Which is principal times rate times time. Mortgage payment. How do you calculate that? Principal portion plus interest portion. These are the three main equations you need to know when calculating the principal and interest and mortgage payments. Okay, when buying homes, you're gonna need three main regular ongoing costs: property taxes, heating costs, and mortgage payments. And basically that sums up Unit 1. Now we start Unit 2, the statistics unit. It's very simple and very easy, and when you get to know it, it's just very easy. First of all, you're gonna have to know the key terms. You're gonna have the mean, which is the average, and it's the sum up of all numbers in that. The median, which is the middle value from other values in an ascending or descending order. The mode, which is the most frequent or repeated value. The range, which is the difference between the highest and lowest. The outlier, the number that is different than the other number in a set. It doesn't fit or it doesn't match. Something like this. Termed mean, calculating the mean after removing a certain percentage of the number of values. Weighted mean, it's basically just similar to arithmetic mean, except some numbers may have more value than others. Now we have an example. As you can see here, there's an example of 2.5, 4 and 4.5, 4.5 again, 6.5, 7 and 7, and 8.5 and 9.5 and 61.5. Now, how do we calculate the mean? We basically add all these numbers together and divide them by 10 because they are 10 numbers. And then our answer is 11.55. Now, how do we calculate the median, or how do we know the median? It's basically 6.5 and 7 because they're the two numbers in the middle. Now, how do we calculate the mode? Well, the mode is 4.5 and 7. Now, how do we calculate the range? It's basically 61.5 minus 2.5, which equals 59. Now, how do we find the outlier? The outlier is the number that just pops out and doesn't fit with the other numbers, which in this case is going to be 61.5. And now, how do we do trimmed mean? Trimmed mean is getting the first two numbers and the last two numbers and adding them together and dividing them by 6 because you have 6 numbers. And your answer will be 6.32. Then we come to Unit 3, which is the probability unit. We'll start off by saying that the probability lessons are addressed by counting permutation and combinations, as well as the fundamental counting principle, and that's what sums up everything. Everything has a formula that to predict everything, the costs of events, and you have to use the formula. So firstly, we'll start off by the combination, which is the number of ways you choose a number of objects from a total of number of objects, and order does not matter. Now, the number of ways to find the combination or choose the number of objects from a group of objects is this. This is the formula we use when we want to calculate combination. Now, permutation is the number of ways of choosing and arranging a number of objects from the total number. The order as well doesn't matter. the formula to calculate how to choose and arrange of objects is this formula. As you can see, this is the formula, and this is how it's calculated to calculate the permutation. Now, the fundamental counting principle states that if one event has like a number of possible outcomes and the second independent event has another number of possible outcomes, then there are then you multiply the first number possible and the independent event and the total possible outcomes for two events together. The probability of an event is the number of outcomes you are looking for, called the successes, which is divided by the total number of outcomes. The notation is PE, which is basically the probability of event. And that's just successes divided by the possible outcomes. Now we have the complement of an event, which is the event not happening. The independent events are events where the occurrence of the first event does not impact the probability of the second event. The binomial theorem, or the binomial expansion, as a lot of people describe it, is an algebraic explanation and expansion of powers of a binomial. The coefficient in the binomial expansion appears as the entire Pascal's triangle. In Pascal's triangle, each entry of the sum is the two above it. The coefficient can also be generated using combinations. The number of combinations are associated with particular row and column Pascal triangle. For example, we have 5 combinations of 3. Of 3 would be associated with 5th row and 3rd column of the triangle. So the binomial theorem is this equation. Now we come to unit 5, which is the geo and trig unit. We have two laws that we have to focus on, and these are the main laws that we play around when we talk about the geo and trig unit. Firstly is the sine law. Sine law is is a tool. It's the proportion that compares the ratio of each side of a triangle to its corresponding angle. So the sine law is sine A divided by A equals sine B divided by B equals sine C divided by C. Now we have the quotient law. The quotient law is basically a law that works with non-right triangles, because sin law does not work with non-right triangles. I'll show you the equation of how to calculate everything, and I will explain everything. But firstly, let's talk about let me give you an example, and let's walk through the steps of how to solve it. You have a triangle, a non-right triangle with the numbers of A and B, but are missing the numbers of C. How would you solve that? Well, I'll show you in this equation right now. As you can see, this equation says A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. Then you have B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cos B. Then you have C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cos C. And that's how you get your answer. And that about wraps it up. Thank you, Miss Nina, for this amazing course. I really have enjoyed this course. I learned a lot. I learned how to self-learn and everything. And I think I really benefited from this course. And again, thank you, and see you in university.